All right, hello everyone. My name is Disc. I'm a title healer from the War Within, and this is a Nexus-Point Xenas as Oracle, and we're featuring a little bit different of a build than last video. So before we get going, please remember to give a comment, like, and a subscribe on the video. I'd appreciate the engagement. We're doing pretty good for the season so far. And check me out on Medify. I offer private lessons over there. We can cover pretty much anything you want. It's a great way to support the future growth of the channel, and it's a great way to level up your gameplay. But before we highlight the talents that I played for this key, I wanted to quickly reference that this is a talent build. It's closer to the one recommended on Wowhead, so maybe that'll make you happy. But it's dipping back into the realm of torments, and that kind of just demands that you're good with target switching and finding executes, having a UI that helps you see these executes. But this is a little bit more of a novice build. It changes your gameplay quite a bit. And if you're not good at finding executes and target switching, I would encourage you, that's something that you should probably practice. It'll help you a lot if you're experimenting with your torments. So here we have the talents that I ran for this key. And I really just want to focus on the discipline side here. The rest of it is pretty cookie cutter. If you have questions about anything I don't cover, just ask. But as part of my intro in this video, I wanted to give a little bit more effort to going through my talent choices and talk about some things kind of just the way I see it. But I would call this talent build kind of like the best of both worlds. It's leaning into our expiation and our torments. This is what is being recommended on Icy Veins and Wowhead right now. But there's a handful of things here I've not done, and I'm just experimenting, trying to have fun and vibe. But I've taken a handful of points out of the right side and put them back into the left side. So I'm banking points into Holy Damage and Penance. This is anticipating the 20% buff to Penance. So I kind of just like these. They're going to mean they're going to have more value to us coming up soon. So I think this is going to be powerful, but there are a couple of talents in here that I've not taken, and I think it's fair to talk about those as well. So I don't have Shadow Mend, not because it's not a strong talent, but I'm just experimenting with more holy damage. This is a point I'm definitely going to be taking as I get into higher keys. There is a lot of strength here. I'm just not doing it in this key. Then I'm not taking Lenience. This is probably going to be the biggest point of contention for any of my haters, but I have it turned over at the choice node Holy Ray instead, banking into Penance again. This is something that I may or may not be taking in higher keys. We'll see. Also, Shield Discipline, sacrifice it for a little bit more Penance damage. Penance output, I mean. But Shield Discipline is great for mana regen. Oracle does have mana problems, so consider that a good node to have. But then, let's see, yeah, so this build, kind of like the best of both worlds, we have a handful of points in our Holy output, handful of points in our Shadow output, but our Capstone Expiation and the Torments of Shadow Fiend and Mindbender, this is, these points are going to change your gameplay more than anything. They really demand you understand that rotation. I would say, I would encourage you to get the add-on Edit Mode Expanded. It lets you move your totem frame, make it a little bit more visible and central in your screen. Playing Expiation and Torments really demands that you have clear sight on when you have pets spawned. When you have pets spawned, it changes your spell priorities. So you really need to see that. I would put it near your torment spells, your penance and your death. But then, so one thing I'm trying to get away from, I'm considering doing this in the future, but these 2 points up here are for dot spread, but it's not mandatory. You can free this point up and bank it somewhere else. That could be your Shield Discipline. You could even boost your dot output. That could be your Shadow Mend. But when I think about this Encroaching Shadows talent, it spreads your pain. That's going to be great for expiation on pulls. On trash pulls. But a lot of dungeons have multiple purely single target bosses where this talent point is going to go to total waste. So I could definitely see myself taking that back. That could be my Shadow Mend. I could put it into Pain and Suffering. That'll boost my expiation. But for this key, I did run the dot spread. But I would say the thing to focus on if you're playing a build like this with expiation and torments is just making sure you're maximizing these torments. If you're not good at catching executes, you're going to be missing a lot from Shadow Fiend, and this might not be the build for you, but practicing target switching and seeking executes is always something I recommend anyone to practice. But that's about it for this intro. Remember to give a comment, like, and a subscribe. Check me out on Medify for private lessons and all of my import-export codes. And let's go ahead and clip over to the key. All right, here we go. My tank healing macro is set. All of my Radiance and Evangelism will fire off the tank unless I manually choose to target somebody else. And in this Oracle key, your rotation will change as you get into higher keys, but I'm dropping most shields from my rotation unless they're procced to a void shield. PI's out, open with Evangelism for the coverage and the DPS. Execute for some pets. Penance second in rotation to cause those pets to torment. Setting my focus here. So focusing means a lot more with Voidweaver. I still do it a little bit here, but I put my focus on the biggest guy in a pull. Radiance, Mind Blast, Penance. See, I need to play Ultimate Penitence as well. Okay, and so that was an uppies in that gap between the cast and the channel. I dropped my Void Shield on the tank just to give him a little extra love going into that channel. And you might have heard me talk about it in my last video, but if you didn't, a pretty simple approach to maximizing uppies is play a spell before you go up and play a spell as you come down. I think probably 9 times out of 10 you want it to be a damaging spell like your death. But that was an example where I just threw out a Void Shield. So when you're playing a Torment build, may it be something like this one, or if you're playing Voidweaver, generally you want to play your death first. So we're in my Evangelism window, throwing it out for coverage and DPS. You can see in party there are some magics to dispel. Not really too worried about that global on a lower key. And then also grid 2 for the win. We have secret auras lifted. We can now track the presence of atonement with a color shift. This is very valuable as a Disc Priest. Okay, I'm first selected here. On a higher key, you probably want to get into it a little quicker selectively. It's not a timed mechanic, but it does eat your health. But in that example, I delayed just for a little bit to get a couple of spells out first. Gave myself a shield and fade before I stepped into the line. And this guy's pretty much almost dead. Let's see, second Mind Blast is coming up. Yeah, so this Core Spark Detonation, on a higher key, this is where you're going to want to place your heals. Evangelism potentially, and uppies potentially. But this heal absorb, we see it in party as the red. Pretty gnarly. There is also a damaging component to that mechanic. Incapped. Okay, but this group seems to be pretty good. That boss died in like 30 seconds. Okay, in a moment like this when you can breathe, always good to kind of plan your next play in your head. So we have Evangelism, both paints ups. Definitely going to want to use Evangelism. Might suit these guys just because there's not a % threshold. So I pulled those guys, not necessary, but I was going into Evangelism Torments are a 5-target cleave. I want some more play with them. Okay, we have PI. We can see curses in party highlighted with a dotted line because they are not ours to dispel. Okay, PI's out. If anyone has notes on timing your PI, please let me know your thoughts, because without Omni CD, thus far I've just been full sending it. I think without Omni CD, any group that's in Discord is probably going to have an advantage for timing. Our rogue was offline back there. Okay, we have Uppies back. Let's see when I play it. Shields are always free game to play when you're out of combat. It'll stack your palms, it'll reset your paints up. And it looks like I'm doing the tanking. Grabbed an execute for a free pet. Penancing mobs that have a dot. Here's the uppies. Yeah, so I talked about it in my intro. You know, I've been considering dropping the talent points altogether that have to do with dot spread. Because a lot of times they're not going to do anything for you on bosses, which are arguably the harder parts of dungeons. But yeah, in this key I'm still playing with 1 dot spread talent. It is going to help with the expiation. It's kind of just a crapshoot where I wish we had like 1 more talent point to spend. Okay, looks like I'm pulling again. I just wanted my evangelism to hit. Looks like we have PI that just came up. And PI's out. And this is a pretty fun build. I do kind of think it's the best of both worlds when you can play Oracle, have extra penance, extra void shields, but still have the fun and excitement and DPS output from Torments. But I still will likely be playing Voidweaver for a while. And when I retire Voidweaver, I'm likely going to be playing a more defensive Oracle build anyway. But this is just for some experimentation and fun. Oh, piece of candy. Putting my focus on the biggest guy. So I guess I'll talk about Voidweaver a little. So we have Void Blast as Voidweaver. It's pretty good single target damage compared to anything Oracle has. And that's why I use focus targeting a lot for Voidweaver, is because I also have a supplementary macro to funnel all of my Void Blasts into my focus. You know, being that they have the most health, even as a healer, if you can put your best single target into the most healthy mob without thinking about it, it works out. Okay, so we have this 2-target cleave mechanic. Great place for 1 or both defensives. I just played a fade here. And I have evangelism, but I believe I'm holding it for the light scar flare. The light scar flare is where you're going to want to time output. You're not really going to see the effect in M0, but it does do quite a bit of damage. Okay, so this yellow mechanic, he jumps once. The first jump will stun you, so you don't want to get hit by that. And then you want to hop in it. So PI's out, evangelism's out, and I'm pumping as much DPS as I can, letting my atonements do the work. So back to PI. Really all I'm doing right now is full sending. I do look forward to being in Discord with a couple of my friends as the season begins. We can coordinate that and time that better. But there are some classes that do better with PI than others. At this level, I'm kind of just looking to the overall DPS and awarding the best person. So I think I'm giving it to the lock more than anyone here. So we have uppies. We will have evangelism in 30. And I should be playing shields here. Yep, there was one shield. So in between combat, always free game to keep playing spells, even though there's no enemies. That will help your paints up. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, we are getting evangelism. There it goes. Grabbed an execute, fumbled a little, but got it. Got a free pet. We have Mind Blast and uppies. Okay, we executed, then Mind Blast penance. So the harder of the spells to get a torment from is the Mind Blast. So if you can ever get an execute first, then you'll have torments that trigger from the Mind Blast as well. So execute, Mind Blast, then penance. And you dip into the torments off Mind Blast. The more you can do that, the better. The torments from penance and death are the easy ones. There goes PI. Okay, we have some executes. Let's see if I get one. Got it. Switch targets for a dot. Switch my targets for mobs that are clustered. The inescapable torment is a short-range cleave. So you want to send those torments not into single mobs, but into groups of mobs. Something to think about. We do have evangelism. Probably holding it for boss. Nope. Let's see if we get some executes. 3 free pets. Love it. Grab and execute. And there might be other add-ons that do it, but right now Platinator is the only one I know. But it changes the color of the nameplate to white sub 20. Makes it a lot easier to see executes. I think target switching is probably one of the harder elements to learn. And if you don't have a UI that helps you see those executes, you're not giving yourself the best chance. Uppies. I missed Schism. Whatever happened to Schism? Okay, we did just get PI. Okay, I sent it. We're about to go into the phase, but getting as much here as I can. Looks like we're going to have evangelism on the exit of the phase. Played my Fade here. I've seen it before where people don't know the mechanic and you end up killing the group by silencing too many. Yeah, so Fade to protect myself. Evangelism, death, Mind Blast, penance. And that's a really fun rotation to look for when you can. Evangelism first spawns a pet. Death second causes a torment and spawns a new pet. Then your Mind Blast and penance, both of those trigger a torment. Mind Blast and penance trigger torments. So yeah, a really strong rotation when you can. Always something good to look for. Evangelism, Death, Mind Blast, Penance. Get a lot of output that way, and it's pretty fun. But who's looking forward to the season starting? These Mythic Zeros are kind of wearing me out. But trying to keep content rolling. Thanks everyone for the engagement. Check me out on Medify. Book a private lesson. Great way to support the channel and grow as a player. Give a comment, like, and subscribe to the video. Check out my AUG content. Pretty excited about my graphics that I made for that and to grow as an AUG player. But yeah, with all that being said, until next time, Disc.